Rachel Zegler was supposed to believe is just so striking that even the supermodel like Gal Gadot is supposed to be homicidically jealous of her. I mean, we're supposed to completely suspend our disbelief.
I mean, people thought my whole trajectory was fake, and sometimes I wake up and I think my whole trajectory is fake, but it's just a testament to taking chances.
In Hollywood, careers are built in whispers and destroyed in headlines. One moment, you're being hailed as the next big thing by Steven Spielberg himself, and the next, you're the punchline of a TikTok meme, the face of a movie flop, and the center of a storm you didn't see coming. Rachel Zegler wasn't just another actress hoping to make it, she was a rising star. A viral audition, a Golden Globe, a Disney princess in the making. She had everything lined up to become Hollywood royalty. But something went wrong. Very wrong. First came the rumors, on-set tension, clashing egos, a bold attitude that rubbed people the wrong way. Then came the controversy, her interviews, her comments, her silence. And when Snow White flopped harder than anyone expected, Rachel didn't just take the hit, she became the target. So how did a newcomer with so much promise end up surrounded by talk of blacklists and career sabotage? Was she really a misunderstood trailblazer or a cautionary tale in the making? The truth lies somewhere in the chaos. And what you're about to hear will change how you see Rachel Zegler forever. Rachel Zegler's rise felt like something straight out of a script she might have starred in. A teenager from New Jersey, filming self-tapes in her bedroom, suddenly plucked from obscurity by one of the most legendary directors in the world. Spielberg didn't just cast her in West Side Story, he chose her. Personally, from over 30,000 hopefuls, it was the kind of discovery Hollywood hadn't seen in years. A fresh face, incredible vocals, and enough screen presence to light up a theater. Critics raved, audiences were charmed. Overnight, Rachel became the symbol of a new era in Hollywood, young, diverse, talented, and confident. Interviews showed her glowing with gratitude. She seemed humble, almost overwhelmed by how fast it was all happening. Fans loved her story, the small-town girl who leapt straight to the A-list. Even the press couldn't get enough, calling her the next Anne Hathaway, or even the next Jennifer Lawrence. Everything lined up perfectly. Major press tours, red carpets, award buzz. When she won a Golden Globe for Best Actress, it wasn't just a win, it was a coronation. But behind the curtain of fairy tale lighting and Hollywood smiles, something else was brewing. Whispers, rumors, little things, barely noticeable at first, started to emerge. People began saying she was different behind the scenes, that she had opinions, that she wasn't afraid to push back. And in an industry obsessed with image and hierarchy, being too bold too soon doesn't always play out like the movies. At first, the stories were easy to ignore. Little murmurs that sounded more like growing pains than red flags. A disagreement here, a creative clash there. Some called it ambition, others called it attitude. Sources began leaking that Rachel wasn't just taking direction, she was challenging it. Choreographers allegedly grew frustrated when she questioned routines or demanded changes mid-rehearsal. Costume designers said she vetoed outfits she didn't like, claiming they didn't align with her vision of the character. Still, most people gave her the benefit of the doubt. She was young, she was new, and she was working with Steven Spielberg. Surely some friction was expected. But then the rumors shifted. Insiders began suggesting Rachel was second-guessing not just the choreography or costumes, but Spielberg himself. Camera angles, line delivery, even editing choices. Allegedly, she had an opinion on all of it, and she made sure her voice was heard. For any veteran actor, that kind of behavior might raise eyebrows. For a first-time lead working under one of Hollywood's most respected directors, it sent shockwaves. Some called it confidence, others labeled it straight-up arrogance. And as the West Side Story press tour rolled on, something strange happened. Spielberg's praise for Rachel, once glowing, started to cool. Subtle at first, less focus, fewer compliments, more emphasis on co-stars, especially Ariana DeBose. It wasn't an open rebuke. Spielberg didn't say anything publicly. But in Hollywood, what isn't said often speaks louder than any statement. And those early cracks, they were about to split wide open. When Disney announced Rachel Zegler as the new Snow White, it should have been the role that solidified her stardom. A live-action remake of one of the most iconic fairy tales ever, backed by a $250 million budget and the full power of Disney's marketing machine. It was supposed to be untouchable, a guaranteed hit. Instead, it became ground zero for one of the most chaotic public spirals in recent Disney history. Right out the gate, the backlash was loud. Some fans weren't thrilled about casting a Latina actress in the role, but things really exploded when Rachel herself stepped into the conversation and started pouring gasoline on the fire. In interviews, she called the original Snow White creepy, said the prince was basically a stalker, brushed off the classic tale as outdated and problematic. Instead of reverence, she brought sarcasm. And for fans who grew up loving the original, it felt like a slap in the face. Boycotts trended. Comment sections turned brutal. YouTube was flooded with takedown videos. TikTok creators stitched her interviews into viral mockeries. And just like that, the wholesome image Rachel had built began to unravel. But this wasn't just a social media storm. This was Disney's crown jewel project, and it was quickly becoming a PR nightmare. What was meant to be a heartwarming reimagining started looking like a culture war battleground. And Rachel, fair or not, was the lightning rod at the center of it. Then came the premiere. The numbers were brutal. The movie bombed so badly that Disney reportedly held emergency meetings to figure out what went wrong. Critics tore it apart. Fans stayed home. And the blame, it landed squarely on Rachel's shoulders. But that wasn't the worst part. Because what she did next didn't just damage her image, it set it on fire. Box office flops happen, even big ones. But what made Snow White different was the scale and the spotlight Rachel Zegler had placed on herself. Instead of damage control, Rachel made it worse. Most actors, when faced with a public disaster of this size, follow a familiar script, issue a heartfelt statement, acknowledge the criticism, show humility, and try to win people back. But Rachel, she doubled down. In interviews, she shifted blame. She claimed the timing was off, that maybe audiences were more excited about the Minecraft movie. Yes, Minecraft. It wasn't just a weak excuse. It was meme fuel. Within hours, social media turned her words into viral punchlines. Edits of Minecraft characters stomping over Disney princesses flooded TikTok and Twitter. Fans didn't just laugh, they got angry. They felt dismissed. Instead of apologizing, Rachel was pointing fingers. Instead of grace under pressure, she seemed flippant and defensive. And the worst part, she disappeared. No apology tour, no genuine moment of reflection. Just silence, or worse, carefully curated Instagram posts pretending everything was fine. That retreat made it look like she only cared when things were going her way. Critics jumped on it. YouTubers made hour-long breakdowns of her PR disaster. Even longtime supporters started to question if the sweet, humble girl from West Side Story had all been an illusion, a product of perfect lighting and polished press coaching. And just when it felt like the heat couldn't get any worse, someone else's silence made it deafening. Steven Spielberg. Because through it all, he said nothing. Steven Spielberg had once called her the future, personally handpicked her from thousands, elevated her to center stage, and now nothing. No defense, no reassurance, no interview to say, she's young, give her time. Just silence. At first, people chalked it up to professionalism. Maybe he didn't want to get involved. But as the controversy spiraled and Rachel's reputation unraveled in real time, his continued silence started to feel intentional. And people noticed. Clips from old West Side Story press events resurfaced. Viewers dissected every interaction. Spielberg laughing with co-stars, glowing praise for Ariana DeBose. And Rachel, barely a mention. Some fans swore they saw forced smiles and stiff body language. Others claimed his tone changed entirely when talking about her. Was it reading too much into it? Maybe. But in Hollywood, perception is currency. And Spielberg's quiet withdrawal from Rachel's public narrative sent a loud message. He was done backing her. Insiders began to whisper that behind closed doors, Spielberg had called her difficult. Some said horrible to work with. And while no one ever confirmed it on record, the industry didn't need confirmation. His silence said it all. Directors talk. Producers listen. Agents take notes. And when a filmmaker of Spielberg's stature stops endorsing someone he once discovered, it doesn't just bruise their image, it poisons it. What had started as one bad press cycle was now evolving into something far more dangerous, a quiet blacklisting. Ready for Section 6, blacklist rumors and industry fallout? This is where the consequences start taking shape, and the tension really builds. In Hollywood, they don't send you an official letter when you're being pushed out. They don't need to. The real blacklist isn't written, it's whispered. And those whispers around Rachel Zegler, they were growing louder by the day. Sources close to major studios began hinting that her name was quietly being removed from casting shortlists. Some insiders claimed directors were steering clear, not because of her talent, but because of her reputation. Demanding, difficult, volatile. Whether it was true or not didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the fear that hiring her might bring drama, headlines, or worse, another public failure. People started asking the same chilling question. If Spielberg regretted working with her, why should anyone else take the risk? It wasn't just about Snow White. It was about the way she responded, the memes, the defensiveness, the radio silence. Producers saw a liability. Executives saw a PR headache. And in an industry where perception is everything, that's the kind of label you don't shake off easily. Some began referring to her career in the past tense. Others speculated whether Disney might even shelve future projects she was attached to. And as the backlash lingered, so did the sense that Rachel wasn't just dealing with a bad press cycle, she was facing something far worse, irrelevance. And here's the scariest part. No one tells you when it's over. You just stop getting the call. But even as the doors seemed to be closing, a quiet question remained in the background. Was this the end of Rachel Zegler's rise? Or just the painful middle of a redemption arc that hadn't started yet? Hollywood loves to tear down its stars, but it loves a comeback even more. The question now is, can Rachel Zegler pull one off? There's still time. She's young, talented, and undeniably capable of owning a screen. But comebacks in Hollywood aren't about talent. They're about humility, about owning the fallout, not deflecting it, about learning from the wreckage instead of pretending it never happened. Some insiders believe she could rebound with a raw indie film, a brutally honest interview, or even a stage role that reminds people what made her shine in the first place. Others say it's too late, that the damage is done, and the industry's already moved on. But here's the thing. In Hollywood, reputation is currency, and Rachel spent hers fast. She went from Cinderella to controversy, from Disney's next big thing to the center of online backlash. All it took was a few interviews, a silent mentor, and a film that bombed harder than anyone expected. Whether the stories are true or exaggerated almost doesn't matter anymore, because perception is reality in Tinseltown.